So the New South Wales Government's Central Coast Regional Plan 2036 talks about pretty massive population increases that would impact on the electorate of the entrance. We've seen some big development applications coming through for infill developments, commercial and residential. One of them was the major redevelopment of the entrance retail centre. It's one of those that got approved by the JRPP and seems to be just in abeyance. What's going on with that site?
Well, look, there's a bunch of sites in the entrance that have approval for development, but no development's happening, and it's an indication, I think, of the failure of what was called the key sites process.
Right.
And there were a bunch of developers who were pushing that as a solution to revitalising the area, and it all sounded good. I was always a bit sceptical because it was always focused more on building large buildings and attracting money to the area, and the idea that would solve problems that may not necessarily be there. The bottom line with the entrance shopping centre is it has approval. There's no plans to build.
So is it the latest example of land banking, where they'll just run what's currently there into the ground and wait for an opportunity to on-sell it to another developer? Or?
Well, my understanding is that I think a buyer is being sought.
Oh.
I don't know where that's up to. But it's not as though the land isn't being used productively.
No.
It's a good shopping centre.
Yeah.
And it serves the local community. One of the problems in the entrance area is 30% of the housing there is unoccupied because it's holiday housing.
Right.
Now, any of the new developments proposed would be along the same lines. There'd be a whole bunch of holiday housing there. So what we need is ordinary people to be able to afford to live in the area, and they would spend their money in the area, and that would create economic activity. So one of the success stories in the area has got nothing to do with big developers. It was small business people in Jetty getting access to what were run down business properties, and they've set up some fantastic shops. The Green Tangerine and the glass onion.
Yeah. It's a happening little place now, Long Jetty, isn't it?
That's right, and it happened because the rents for a time were low and enabled creative small business people to get in and do something interesting. You don't need a big building, you don't need a big developer or a big DA to create economic activity that's good for the community. The problem we're having now at Long Jetty is the success of those people is starting to put rents up. And my fear is the sustainability over time. High rents affect business as well as mums and dads and kids in our area. We all need affordable accommodation, including business. So that's what our aim should be doing in terms of economic activity and accommodation.
Now, I know that the Wallara 2 development doesn't directly impact on your electorate, but this idea of offshore drilling for oil and gas is an interesting one. Apparently there's been permission given for seismic testing off our coast this month and next. We've had a pretty big response from the community to a story about that was published in the Warren Regional Chronicle. What's your position on that?
Well, it's exploration, and I don't think we should oppose any exploration. I think the Greens have said all exploration should be opposed. What you've got to remember is when we explore the Earth's crust, it can provide information that's useful for a whole bunch of reasons. The seismic testing is going to happen over only 3 or 4 days. It's not an explosion used to create the seismic pulse, it's an air gun. And that'll provide information about the Earth's crust, and that's useful for us in this area. Because in 1989 we had an earthquake in Newcastle, and understanding the processes that work below our feet can help us when we plan our communities and plan how we accommodate the risks from the environment. As a geologist,
Yes.
working in the civil construction industry and residential construction, I regularly use the information that had been collected by mining companies to let me know what was under the ground where we were building.
However, as one of the areas on the Australian East Coast most densely populated and therefore most vulnerable to sea level rise and climate change, should we be hitching our pony to the old coal, gas industries, or should we be at a community level moving towards renewables?
There's two answers to your question. One is gas, or at least gas, will be with us for a long time. I mean, I have gas at home. Most of my constituents do. It's an important energy source that we still need to use. And Australia's a big producer of gas. There's a problem with its cost. Labor's got a solution for that. There should be a reservation on gas in this country so that not all of it is exported. That's what's causing the prices to go up at the moment. So there's that. On the other level is it's energy policy in general, and I think we all understand that electricity prices have gone through the roof. We should be moving towards renewables. I've been really interested in the work being done by Professor Andrew Blakers at ANU University. His team have done a number of papers which indicate we can move to full renewables in 10 to 20 years' time at very little cost to the community. Where the costs come from with all this is because we've moved from a system where energy was provided as a service to the community, usually through government departments.
Yeah.
It's now a market-driven commodity, and the only time the private sector is going to provide it to the community is if they can make a whole bunch of money. And you've seen that with AGL taking over Liddell and Bayswater power stations. The CEO of that company is paid over $6 million a year. The company itself is making huge profits, but they're doing it off the back of high electricity prices. Labor's said it will re-regulate the energy market. How that will look is to be determined, but what it will lead to is lower prices, because energy is a service, not something for something
A
to make
commodity.
a whole buck.
However, the concept of some sort of gas rig 20 k's off our coastline, how do you feel about that?
Well, this is exploration we're talking about, so I'm not opposed to that. Now, if that exploration then leads to an application to do some sort of mining, well, we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it. There's no guarantee it'll be 20 kilometres off our
Well, that's where they're
coast.
testing.
The continental shelf goes out a long way, and so we need to see what the test results come back at, and then it's up to somebody to put in an application if they want to do some mining down the track, and then we can respond on that basis. It could be it's too risky, and then we say no.
All right. Thanks, David.
My pleasure.